Think about it. Why would you invest time and money in this profession? Why do people do it? Well, one of the big reasons is travel. For you, yourself, and your family. Maybe your parents want you to learn to fly so they can fly to Honolulu free or at a discount. It's a challenging, dynamic environment. If you fly, I flew for 30 years I finished up with Northwest Airlines, and I saw all parts of the world. You just couldn't beat it. We've tracked pilot hiring since the 70s. This is a chart since 1985. It's very cyclical, very schizophrenic. It's it's affected by a recession. The industry is energy intensive, labor intensive, capital intensive. It's like a three-leg stool. If one of those gets cut short, it really wobbles. It's very difficult. So you can expect during those recessions like this, and major changes in the business, and technology changes when they went from 3 pilots to 2, that changed how many pilots were hired. In 2009, there were only 30 pilots hired in the whole industry, the lowest I'd ever. I've been tracking pilot hiring for 46 years. That's the lowest I'd ever seen. The age rule, at one time you had to retire at age 60. Now the rule is 65. So for about 5 years, the hiring really slowed down at the airlines. Now it's changed. Notice last year, 2017, the 9 major airlines, they hired almost 5,000 pilots. And in 2018, we're expecting about 6,000. We don't make long-term forecasts. Boeing does. They like to sell airplanes, and they'd like to have pilots to fly them. And they're saying 23,480 planes to 41,030 aircraft worldwide. This means this is how many pilots we'll need in the next 20 years. 637,000 pilots is a lot of pilots needed.
My name is Talia Rothman. I am a pilot recruiter for Piedmont Airlines. I've been a pilot recruiter for about 2 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it takes to become an airline pilot and give you guys a little bit more information, kind of expand on what Lewis went over just a minute ago. So Piedmont has a cadet program. So how many of you are in high school? And how many of you are in college? Okay. So for when you start building your flight time, from the time you graduate college, you'll have about 200 to 300 flight hours to get to that 1,500 or that 1,000 that you need. There are several different ways to get there. So you can either do flight instruction, you can do banner towing, you can do any number of different things to get that experience. And we have partnered with about 15 schools to get your flight experience for you. You'll go and instruct at one of our partner schools, and we will pay you during that time a stipend until you come and work for us. So I know a lot of airlines are doing this now. It's a really great program, and we'd be happy to talk about it more with you guys in the roundtables.
To introduce myself, my name's Keith. I'm a captain at Envoy. I've been at Envoy just over 10 years, now it'll be 11 years September. I'm going to talk about who I am and then who we are at Envoy, and then at some point I'll hand it off to my coworker, my director, who will discuss our cadet program with you. A little about me. I was hired back in 2007 on the CRJ. Spent about a year on that aircraft and went over to the Embraer 145, which I am on now, and I've been on ever since. I'm based in DFW, but I commuted to Chicago for a year when I upgraded. I was hired by a company called American Eagle, and then if you're not familiar with who Envoy is, we are American Eagle. We, after the merger with US Airways, they wanted to brand out the American Eagle name, and so we were required to come up with a different name, okay? But when people hear Envoy, I get a lot of questions like, who's that? Or American Eagle. Oh, okay, American Eagle. So who are we? We're 14,000 employees, 2,300 pilots. We're closing in at about 2,400 pilots now, okay? We're the largest provider of regional feed for American Airlines. We are wholly owned by American Airlines Group. American Airlines Group consists of 4 companies, if you're not aware of. They consist of American Airlines, Envoy, PSA, and Piedmont. A unique thing that all the wholly owns have, which can't be said for other regional providers, is we have a defined career path to American Airlines. What happens is somebody will start their career at Envoy as a first officer. This shows they'll build experience here at year 2. Currently, you have to upgrade to a captain, right? And that's where we all want to end up at. It doesn't take 2 years to actually upgrade. It takes 18 months. In order to sit in the left seat of a 121 carrier, you have to have 1,000 hours of flying time in a 121 environment. And it takes, at Envoy, about 18 months to get there. So you won't be an FO in 24 months, you'll be an FO in 18, okay? They'll continue their career path, move on down, and in about 6 to 7 years, they'll flow over to American. It is a no interview flow. What that means is when a pilot starts at Envoy, they will flow to American in seniority order, and they will not interview, no medical. They'll start day one in class over at American when their slot arrives. So that's Envoy in a gist. I'll be happy to just take more questions from you guys when we do the roundtables and answer any questions you have. I'm going to hand this off to our Director of Pilot Recruitment, Natalie Nielsen. She runs our pilot hiring program, and she's going to talk to you guys about the cadet program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Really happy to have you here. My name is Natalie Nielsen. Like Keith said, I'm the Director of Pilot Recruitment, but I'm also a first officer on the Embraer 175 at Envoy Air. Just a little bit about me. I'm a good example of someone that can do this career coming from anywhere in your life. I grew up in Texas and originally had my eyes set on the medical field, actually enlisted in the Air Force, and was a dental lab technician for 4.5 years on active duty, and I'm still in the Air Force Reserves. Actually completed all the prerequisites for dental school and just started rethinking life, making sure I was making the right decision, and changed my mind. And I went to a flight school, civilian flight school, and did a fast track program and got all my pilot certificates. My flight instructor certificates, was able to teach instrument pilots as well as multi-engine pilots. Used that to build my flight hours, taught people how to fly, and did a lot of research and homework, and Envoy Air was my first choice, and I'm very happy that I passed the interview on the first time, and am very fortunate to now be a part of the pilot recruitment department, share my story with y'all, and share some of the awesome benefits and ways to get to where I'm at today and loving life.
Hi, my name is Brent Morellis. I'm with Pan Am. How many in here have ever heard of the airline Pan Am? Yeah, awesome. We've been around a while. We actually are the same company. I'll get into that in a second, just to let you know how we still are where we are. Today you've heard a lot about why the airline industry is a good thing to get into, and that's actually very true. I've been doing this for the last decade, and it hasn't really been a better time to become an airline pilot. So my job today during this and the roundtable event is to help you get better educated on how to get to one of the guys that just came up here to speak, or any of the other airline paths that are available. The different pathways to get into the airline that they talked about. So we've got airline-focused flight training academies. These are schools like ours that only does one thing. We just make airline pilots and CFIs to airline pilots. That's our only deal that we do. A couple of other ways, universities, great way to go, has its ups and downs. Military, great way to go, also has its ups and downs. And we can talk a little more in the roundtables to get into them, but the biggest difference is the airline academy style is about a 10-month, 11-month program to become a certified flight instructor. Then you get a job as an instructor at our school or any other school, and you start instructing to get to that 1,500-hour time, the golden number that you've heard here a few times. To get to that number with us, you get there very quickly. That's one of our strong suits as an academy. You don't have to go through the 4-year degree. If you decide that after you get to 1,500 hours, you don't want to go to the airline world and you just want to make $80 an hour in a simulator every day, then you can do that too. You just get the type rating through us, and then you instruct on some of the sims. So we have a lot of different job path opportunities for instructors that may not necessarily want to just go directly to an airline, gain some experience another way. You enroll in the Career Pilot Academy, 10 months to CFI, 12 months to 1,500. Swift Air, you're in a 737 in about, we'll call it, almost 2 years. So that's kind of what we do in the industry. There are no other flight schools that are owned by a sim training facility that can take you to a 737 in the world. We're it. So we talked about how much you make. Return on investment is huge. As a father, I want my son to finish college, get a job, and start earning an income so that way I have to stop paying for stuff. That's the thing I want most in life right now. It would be awesome. But return on investment is huge, and we talked about that time that it takes to get to everything. So the Flight Training Academy is the quickest way, whether it's us or any other flight training academy. You get your career earnings a lot faster. You heard more than once seniority is key. You heard it by Lewis whenever he was doing his stuff. You saw it on the chart whenever Keith was doing his. As far as the growth, getting the 40 years in, seniority is key. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. So the faster you get to it, the quicker you get to career earnings, the quicker you pay off your education costs, you get to a median annual salary, and you get to the career earnings later on for that return on investment.